Now, so we've done until verse 12 last time, so we'll start with the verse 13. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا. So the verse it says, and we have made therein a shining lamp, which means the sun. And the other translation of the meaning it says, and make a blazing lamp. So I think it's going back to the question. And I think already you've seen that how the translation is one thing and actual, what Allah is saying is has a different tones. Of course, you get the meaning, you get what Allah is trying to say, that for sure. But as you can see, even with two different translations, they're looking into exact same Arabic text, but they're coming with two different way of saying it. And then when we go inside the words with the grammar and morphology, we see that we get another sets of meaning. And here I can tell you that although most of the time the Hilali translation would be better, but here I think the blazing term would be much more appropriate. Inshallah, we will see. So the first word we have wa, we know what wa, and wa ja'alna. We saw this word many times. Okay, ja'alna, ja'ala. We said that this word can come, this is a verb, this verb can come as a standard verb, and it can also come as, and here's what I made mistake last time. I kept on referring this one to naqis, and my spelling was also wrong. This is not actually naqis, this is nasikh. Okay, nasikh. Naqis is a subset of nakhis. So nakhis is a broader term. Inshallah, we will see many different nawasikh. So inside the nasikh, we have dhanna wa akhawatuha, which is ja'ala, what we have studied last time. And we also have inna wa akhawatuha is inside the nawasikh. And also kana wa akhawatuha. Now this kana wa akhawatuha is also considered naqis. Okay, so this is where I slipped. فهمتم? So the issue what you will see is that remember last time I mentioned to you is that this verb ja'ala it can come as nasikh and it can also come as a standard verb. And here we will see that this verb is actually coming as a standard verb. So we already know what ja'ala means. It means to here he says placed, but let's stick with our standard meaning, which is to make. So that means we made. We made what? It says siraj, sirajan. What is siraj? Siraj is very interesting word. Siraj means you can think about lamp, but there's another word for lamp, which is what? Misbah, misbah. This word also comes in the Quran. But the word siraj, this is a lamp that itself has a source of the light. So this is a source of the light itself. Okay, when we say siraj, this is not only lamp, it is also source of the light. What is the meaning? For example, if we look at our modern light, subhanallah, my drawing, so let's say this is a bulb. Okay, so this bulb will be called misbah. So the whole thing will be called misbah. But the siraj will be considered what's inside the bulb, the one that is actually giving out the light, the one that actually burning and then making the light come out. You understand the difference? So the misbah is the whole thing, whereas the siraj would be the actual source of the light. Subhanallah, you can even see that the choice of the word that Allah is using. Because as we know, the sun itself gives out the light. So this is the source of light. So that's why Allah is using the word siraj here. So the siraj, and then we have wahaj. So what is wahaj? Wahaj comes from the verb wahaja. Okay, wahaja. Wahaja yahiju. Okay, yahiju. When we say wahaja yahiju, it can have two meanings. Something is glowing or something is burning. Okay, glowing or burning. Now, this form, if we want to say something is burning, like we want to use it like that, then we will use what in ismu fa'il. So we'll say wahid. Okay. But the form that Allah used here, wahaj, this form is sigatu mubalagha. This is in Arabic, we have a sigatu mubalagha when the meaning gives more intensified, meaning the meaning is more intensified. It has the exaggeration here, right? So it is more intense. So simple example, if I think you understand, we have somebody who lies, we call them what? Kadhib. Okay, kadhib. Wa kadhib, he's a liar. But one who lies a lot, like he constantly lying, you cannot trust this person, then you will say kadhab. You will say what? Kadhab. Same form. Wahaj. Allah is a he's he forgives, right? So he's what? Ghafir. He is a ghafir, right? But Allah is also forgives a lot. That's why Allah also called himself what? Ghaffar. Ghaffar. Same form. Okay, Wahaj, Ghaffar. So Sigatu Mubalaga, you have many different pattern. One of the pattern is Fa'al, the one that we have here. Fa'al. Okay, there's other form like Fa'il, like Kareem, okay, Rahim. Those are also Sigatu Mubalaga, but there's a little bit of different, similarities with the other form. But this, Fa'al, this form is more common. As you can see, we already probably heard many of them. I'm pretty sure you have heard Ghaffar. I'm pretty sure you've heard Kadhab. By the way, this is a part of the morphology, right? So here, subhanallah, Allah, just by using the word, the different form, the form of mubalagha, which is an intensified form, he is giving a lot more meaning than just simply saying burning. So just saying burning, it is losing the meaning, right? So you have to have a little bit more intense. So Allah is saying that this lamp, it is burning a lot or glowing a lot. Okay. So in that sense, that's why the shining is probably not the best word. The best word would be blazing. Because if something is burning a lot, which also gives you a lot of more glow, then what do we say? We call it blaze, right? So it is blazing. So that's what Allah is saying, that He made a blazing lamp. He made a blazing lamp. Make sense? So you can see, subhanAllah, with the understanding of grammar and the morphology, we get different types of layer of understanding. So now the question is, what is Siraj then? What is the grammatical situation of the Siraj? What is the Irab of Siraj? So remember what we are saying. We're saying that Allah said that وَجَعَلْنَا, we made, you made what? You made a lamp. So that means we need a maf'ul bihi, object. So the siraj would be object. So you will say this is ismu mansub, maf'ul bihi. So it would be maf'ul bihi, mansub, and alamatu nasbihi al-fathatu al-zahira. So that means this is a object. And how do we know it is maf'ul bihi? Because we have a fatha. But this is easy part. The question is, what is wahaj then? Why do we have a fatha here? Hmm? Now, you might be a little bit confused because remember last time, every time we had the verb ja'ala, it was it was like nasikh, one of the verb nasikh. That means it came in a nominative sentence. We had a complete sentence and the ja'ala came. Remember, we can just write here, for example, وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. And we said that ja'ala is coming and making a nominative sentence into two objects. Now, is the ja'ala here doing the same thing? We can find out very simple way. Just look at these two words. Just get these two words out and see do you think these two words make a sentence? If we say sirajun, because without that we have to have sirajun, then we have wahajun. If I say sirajun, wahajun, is this a sentence? No, it is not a sentence, right? So what is it then? If you look into these two words side by side, it's an adjective phrase, ahsanti. So remember, adjective phrase, they match everything. They match whether it is definite or indefinite. As you can see, siraj is indefinite. So is your wahaj is indefinite. This one has a marfu state. This is also marfu state. This is masculine. Wahaj is also masculine. This is singular. This is also singular. So, you understand the adjective phrase. They have to match all four attributes of the noun. So, yeah, so this is an adjective phrase. This is not a nominative sentence. So here the ja'ala is not coming as among the verb of nawasikh. So this is not your nasikh verb. Instead, it is coming as a standard verb, just like, say, I made something. I made a coffee. So you don't need two objects. You just need one object. I made something. So here the verb is coming like that. فهمتم? And that's why some of the grammarians, they say that here the verb ja'ala, it comes in the meaning of khalaqa. Okay, it comes in the meaning of khalaqa. What is the difference? Ja'ala means to make something, and khalaqa means to create something. So here they're saying that it means that Allah created a burning lamp. Okay, because khalaqa doesn't need two objects. Khalaqa only needs one object. So we will say this one, wahaj is sifa, mansub. Okay, it is a sifa and it is mansub because the noun is mansub. Make sense, guys? Now, the next verse we have وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا. Okay, the meaning they are saying, and we have sent down from the rainy clouds abundant water. Okay, this is one translation, and here's another one. Did we not send water pouring down from the clouds? And we already talked about why he's keep on saying did we not, because he's linking with one of the verb before. But we'll go word for word and we will find out how we translate it. So wa, again, the end. Then we have the verb anzalna. So what is the verb? Verb is anzala. Anzala. This is the verb. And the meaning is what they're writing here is sent down. So the anzala would be he sent down. And anzalna would be we sent down. But this verb is interesting because I will give you a little bit from the morphology perspective as well. Remember last time we talked about that few verb form. This verb actually comes from the verb, which another verb I'm pretty sure you have heard in the Quran many times, which is nazala. Nazala. Yes, ahsanti. So nazala, what does nazala means? Nazala means to come down. Come down. So I can say nazaltu min al-bayt. That means to come down, right? So for example, you can say al-Qur'anu nazala min as-sama. The Quran came down from the heavens. فهمتم? So the nazala means to come down. So this is your form number one. Last time we talked about some of the form. And the form that we have, as Sister pointed out, this is a form number two. So this is af'ala form. Af'ala. There's a reason why I'm spending a little bit time. You'll see this form is very interesting. Af'ala. So what does it do? He have a simple verb, fa'ala. He will make it into, and he will add a hamza. He will add a hamza. And then you have fa'ala, you say af'ala. So we have nazala, you say anzala. You see the same form. Now, this verb form has a very specific, interesting usage. What this verb does is, if the previous verb, the form one verb was intransitive, like lazim, you know what intransitive verbs are, right? It does not require an object. For example, if I say I came down, I don't have to say came down what. There's no what. I can say came down from, but we don't need a direct object. If I say jalasa, okay, jalasa, that means he sat. You don't need an object. He sat what? This question doesn't come. You can say he sat on something. So this is also intransitive verb. But when you add this hamza, then you make this verb into a transitive verb. Now you're not saying that it's coming down. You're saying that you're making something come down. Okay, let's work on this one, then it will be clear. When you say jalasa, that means he sat down. If I say ajlasa, that means what? I made someone sit down. You have a child, he's running around. You say ajlastu. waladi. I made my son sit down. Fahimtum? This is what it is doing. So that's why when you say anzala, that means we sent down. That means we means Allah. He is the one who's making it come down. So that is your form number 4. And form number 2, I'm not going to go in detail because if it comes, then I'll talk about because of the time, which is fa'ala. Fa'ala. This has similar usage also. You can say jallasa. You can say jallasa. That means I made someone sit down. Here you have intensive, subhanAllah, even though both of them has the same meaning. If you say ajlastu waladi, I made my son sit down. Or if you say jallastu waladi, it means the same thing. I made my son sit down. But this one will have like you use a little bit force. You know, your son doesn't want to sit down, you force him to sit down. SubhanAllah, as you can see, this morph is very interesting. So we lose a lot of these things from the translation. Anyway, going back here, so Allah is saying the وَأَنْجَلْنَا, so that means we sent down minal mu'sirat. Okay? So mean is from what is mu'sira? The singular is mu'sira. This means cloud. In Arabic, we have many different words for the meaning of the cloud. You have sahab. Sahab is probably what you hear standard, meaning you see a cloud floating around, you will call them sahab. And you also have ghayma, but mu'asira would be called those cloud when you see that it is darker. And you know from this cloud, the rain is about to come down. Because, normal day, sunny day, you will see some clouds going around here and there. Then you will not call it mu'asira. You will call sahab. That means normal round. But when the clouds gets intensified, just about to rain, then we call it mu'asira. And this is plural, mu'asirat. So look at the choice of the words. So here Allah is saying that we send down from those thick clouds, what? Water. And then Allah says, thajjaja. Thajjaj, it comes from the verb thajja, yathujju, means to flow or stream. Water is flowing or streaming, then you will call it thajja, yathujju. And if something is flowing simply, you will simply use the ismu fa'al like thaj, thajun. You will say thajun, like you say hajun, same form. But this is what form we just talked about this one a while ago. What is the form of this noun? This is same thing as we have wahaj, which is what? Sigatu mubalaga. So Allah again using Allah is again using what? The intensified form of the noun. So Allah is not just saying that it is coming down, flowing. He's using the intensive version, meaning a lot, abundant is falling down. Just by using the form, you don't have to add any more adjective. You can just use this form, and then we know its condition. So here Allah is saying what? Allah is saying that we send down from this thick cloud abundant flowing water. This is a good translation, pouring abundantly water, because all of these things has a main meaning is the pouring because it's flowing, but then abundant, this word comes from the form of the word. There's no word for abundant here. Okay, but the meaning comes from the form of the word. Make sense? So what would be Arab of ma? Ma would be very simple. It would be what? It would be maf'ul bihi mansub, because Allah says we send down. We send down what? We send down water. Then thajjaja would be sifa, adjective of this ma, water. Fahimtum? Then Allah says, لِنُخْرِجَ بِهِ حَبًّا وَنَبَاتًا. لِنُخْرِجَ بِهِ حَبًّا وَنَبَاتًا. So the translation that we have here, that we may produce therewith corn and vegetations. Second one, he says, to bring forth with it grain and plants. Now, so you have the basic meaning. Now we will go word for word. The first word that we have, this tiny letter li. Okay, we'll come back to this word. It has some significance in the grammar. But for now, think about this is your for. Remember the harful jar? We had li Muhammadin. This is the same harf. Li means for. Then we have the verb nukhrij. It comes from the same, comes from akhraja, akhraja, yukhriju, yukhriju. Akhraja yukhriju. So this is the present tense verb. See, yukhriju, we say nukhrij. Here, why we have a fatha, inshallah, we'll talk about this. So it's nukhriju. Okay, this noon is for we. So this would be that he bring forth. Okay, bring forth. And here, because of the noon, we say we bring forth. It's in the past tense, sorry, present tense. Now, this is also, if you're paying attention, this is also the form number 4 of the verb afala. Just like we had what anzala. This is akhraja. As you can see, the sound is the same, form 4. Now, so what is the standard verb? Standard verb, I'm pretty sure you already know. Kharaja. What is kharaja? This verb comes in Medina book 1. Kharaja is to go out. Go out. So you can say kharajtu min al bayti. I got out from the house. Or kharajtu min al masjidi. I got out from the masjid. So what would happen if I add this hamza of the form? So here kharaja, normal kharaja, you don't need an object. You just say I came out. You don't need any direct object. But here with this hamza, you will say I made or somebody made something to get out. So here, if I say akhrajtu, that means I made something come out. Now you have the question, you made what come out? Okay, now you can say waladi, going back to my son. I made my son come out. He doesn't want to come out. You understand? So this hamza is making it into a muta'addi, transitive verb. Very interesting usage. And the funny thing is, if you have intransitive verb, it will make it into transitive. If you have a transitive verb, then it will make it into double transitive verb. Okay, so this is very interesting usage. Now, so instead of kharaja, Allah is saying that we make something come out, bring forth. Okay, so you see the meaning. Now, then it says bihi, with it. Okay, bi, is with harf al jar bi, and we have he. He is standard pronoun who. But I think you know that in this kind of conjugation, when you have a kasra or ya before ha, it will take a kasra. Otherwise, it would be who, lahu. Pronoun is who. Now the question is this: who refers to what? With it. Maybe you will know when we read the rest. It says habba. What is hab? Hab has many different meanings, to be honest with you. It can mean seed, it can mean grain, it can also mean corn. So as you can see, it has these type of meanings. So what Allah is saying is that we bring forth grain with it. Wa nabata. What is nabat? Nabat is vegetations. So now what is Allah saying? Allah saying is that with it, with something, we bring forth grains and the vegetation. Now tell me, what is who refers to? Something from the previous verse. It goes to the water. Yes, ahsanti. So from the water that Allah sends down, Allah saying that from these water we bring forth, we take out the grain and the vegetation from the earth. Subhanallah, if you think about this, the rain, one of the main function of the rain is simple as that, to get the vegetation out. If the places where they don't have rain, subhanallah, the situation. Makes sense? So of course, habba would be what? Maf'ul bihi. It would be the object of this verb. Nukhriju, we take out the grain. Oh, I completely forgot. So why do we have a fatha here, and what is going on? So this would bring us to another interesting topic of the verb. Remember, last time we talked about that the verb has also states. Verb has 3 states. It has a mansub state, and it has, what am I saying? Marfu state, which is the dhamma state. Marfu is the dhamma, and mansub is the fatha. And it does not have majrur. Verb does not have kasra, but it has what? Majzoom. A majzoom, which is a sukun state. We've seen the sukun state already. Remember when we said lam, we had the word lam, alam naj'al, we talked about the lam. So the lam makes a verb, present tense verb, into majzum. So we'll get a sukun at the end. And the standard is also always a dhamma. You already know that. And then there are some times that the verb gets into a mansub state, meaning it gets into a fatha state, and which we have here. As you can see, the verb has a fatha. Otherwise, it should be what? It should be nukhriju, nukhriju with the dhamma. So why are we saying a fatha? We're saying fatha because of this lam that we have, but it is not so easy. If I tell you this lam is making this verb into fatha, we're going to have a two problem. First thing you will tell me, we just learned that harful jar li, it only comes into ism. Remember, I also mentioned this. Any grammar book you open, the first chapter, they will mention that anytime you have a preposition, after preposition, you will have what? You will have a noun. If you have a preposition, this is how you know that the next word is a noun. So how do we say that we have a harmful jar and we are clearly telling you that this is a verb? How does that work? So we're going to have a problem, right? Now, so without going too much in detail, because this topic is also a little bit, there's a lot of things to talk about. But for now, I'll just mention that there is a hidden an. An is hiding. An is one of the main harf that makes a present tense verb into mansub. So for example, if you say uridu, this is the common example I give. I want to go. So uridu, this an. You say I want to go. You see, to go. This to is the an. And what comes after to? A present tense verb. Go. So now you'll use a present tense verb. Uridu an adhaba. Here's it should have been adhabu, right? Adhabu means I go, but because of this an, it will make it into a mansub. So here after an, you cannot say adhabu. You say uridu an adhaba. Uridu an akula. Uridu an ashraba. So this after an, it will take it into a mansub. So that's what's happening. So what happens sometimes when this lam comes, after lam, you can sometimes make this an, you can say li an. For example, here you can say li an nukhrija. You could have said li an nukhrija. The meaning would be exactly the same thing. Effect would be exactly the same thing. Here you can clearly see that an is here. So you know that an is the one that is making this verb into a mansub, not the li. فهمتم? So, but sometimes you can also omit this an. Okay, so you can say li nukhrija. Okay, you can also do that. So here we have to assume that the an is hidden. If we are to do Irab here, the question is, what is making this one into a mansub? You will say an madmura, a hidden an. You cannot say this harful jar is making into a mansub. Makes sense? Now, then the question still remains what I said. What I said before is that, or what the grammarians say, to be more exact, is that after li, you have to have a noun. And is an a noun? We got away with one problem, but we still have another problem. An is a not noun, is a harf, is a particle. So how do you explain that? The way you explain that, this is another topic, which is you can think about in English, we have infinitive verb. Yes. Anytime you have an and present tense verb, it takes a place. Yes, it takes a place of a verbal noun. I'll give you example from English, then you will see this is precisely what we do in English as well. If you say, I want to go, if you look at this, if you say to go, does the go have any time? Can you say the go is a past tense, present tense, future tense? No, it doesn't have any time. So when you say to go, to do, we are removing the time from the verb. So what happens? This whole thing is actually a noun. It is in the place of a noun. So you could have said, I want the going, the going with you, something like that, right? You see, so you could easily replace this phrase from to go into a noun. Same thing in Arabic you can do. Okay, after an, so this an and the present tense verb, you can change it and you can put into a masdar, the verbal noun. Here it would be li ikhraj. The verbal noun of akhraja would be ikhraj. Ikhraj. So here we could have said li ikhraji or lil ikhraj. So after li, then the li is harful jar, ikhraj would be noun. We have no problem. Instead of verb, we are using the verbal noun. Okay, so a little bit advanced topic here. I don't know how much you understood, but as I said, if you're intermediate student, you will have some idea what I'm talking about here. So that's the reason why we're getting a fatah here. Now, جيد. Then we have what? وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا. وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا. So that means it is continuation of what Allah is saying, that what does He bring forth from the water? Allah said He brings hab, the grain, nabat, the vegetation, and jannat. We'll learn about what jannat, and we'll know what is alfafa is doing here. Now, so Jannah, this is plural of the word Jannah. We already talked about the Jannah, I think. Jannah has different meanings. Jannah can be heaven, like the Jannah and Jahannam, hell and heaven. It can also mean garden. Also mean garden. Okay, the meaning that we have here is the garden meaning. So, how do you say, what is the plural of Jannah? The plural of Jannah is sound feminine plural. So we say Jannat. Okay, Jannat, Jannatun. So anytime, usually most of the time when you have a ta marbuta at the end, the way you make a plural is by removing the ta marbuta and you add alif and ta. Okay, so for example, mu'mina, okay, mu'mina, female believer, you want to say mu'minat, plural, you just say mu'minat, mu'minatun. Just remove the ta marbuta and add alif and ta. So this is what we have here. And then alfafa, what is alfaf? Comes from the word laf. Laf. Laf, yaluf, it means to wrap something. Now, this is a plural. There's a little bit of dispute. What is the singular? Some people say the singular is lif, and some people say lafif. It doesn't matter. The meaning is pretty much the same. So here it is coming as, I'll just tell you what it's doing. This is an adjective phrase of this garden. The reason why Allah is using the wrap to describe the garden is to give you a visual that there are so many trees that it almost looks like one is wrapping another one. Think about more like forest. If you watch some of the video about the nature, if you see, subhanallah, the rainforest, you will be amazed how many trees are there, and it looks amazing. And this word, what the way Allah is describing, it will come to your mind that you have so thick gardens, so many trees that it almost like they are wrapping one is wrapping another one. Okay, so this is how you can understand. فهمتم? But of course, we have to understand, why do we have a kasra? Where is the harful jar? Remember, we told you we get a kasra only when there is a harful jar, or this is the second word of mudaf ilayhi, or simply mudaf ilayhi, second word of idafa. So why are we getting a kasra here? Let me see if anyone can pick this thing up. We don't have any harful jar. There's no harful jar is preceding here. The strangest thing is that we have a kasra here and we have a fatha here. Subhanallah. Somebody said mansub. But we just told you the mansub is what? Mansub is fatha. Mansub means fatha. When you say mansub, mansub is a fatha. So why are you saying mansub here is kasra? Ahsanti. So here, that's why I give you these examples. Sound feminine plurals, their Irab is a little bit different. Okay, the way we show that this is a marfu state, meaning it's a dhamma state, is by simple dhamma, which we have, we have mu'minatun. So that means we know this is a marfu. The word is marfu. That means it is in the rough state. Majrur would be kasra, just like we know. Okay, let's say ila. So we say mu'minatin, ila mu'minatin, which is also standard what we know. Okay, ila masjidin, ila baytin. So here it will work the same way. But when it comes to the mansub form, the fathas form, these sound feminine will never take a fatha. Sound feminine plural never takes a fatha. So, but you want to say, I saw the women. I saw ra'aytu, these Muslim women. So you want to say, because if it was singular, you say mu'minatan. You see fatha. I saw a believer, female believer. Ra'aytu mu'minatan. But now you want to say, I saw believers, female Muslim believers, right? So we say mu'minatan. That's how it should have been, right? But here is the issue. These sound feminine plural, they never take a fatha. Instead, you have to put a kasra. So it might be this is one of the things that if you're not paying attention in the Quran, you will get a little bit confused, or any other places. Okay, so remember the sound feminine plural, they never take a fatha, instead they will take kasra. So for the genitive case or accusative case, for the jar state or the nasab state, both of this situation, it will take a kasra. So yes, this is in the mansub state. It is a ma'tuf. The reason why it is mansub because this is a ma'tuf. That means, remember what we said, that Allah takes out grain. So this is the maf'ul bihi. This is the object. Then wa nabat, and vegetation. So this fatha is coming not because this is object, Allah is taking out vegetations, which is true, but from the grammatically we will say no, this is mansub because we added wow. So whatever after we put wow, whatever the Irab was before wow, we will take the same Irab. Whatever the state was. I explained to you in the last class. Okay, so that means if this is one mansub, then this one has to be mansub. And here we also added another wow. Okay, so that means this would have to be whatever the previous one was. Previous one, not necessarily, I have to check, do they say wow on the nabat or wow on the hub? I would assume on the hub. I have to double check on this thing. Okay. And the reason why you're seeing a kasra instead of fatha, because what I explained to you, this is Jammu Annath Salim, sound feminine plural. Now the question is why we have a fatha here. This is what? Adjective. This is an adjective. So what? The thick or wrapped garden. Thick or wrapped garden. Make sense? Now, so the next verse, Allah says, Inna yawmal fasli kana miqata. Inna yawmal fasli kana miqata. Verily, the day of the decision is a fixed time. Day of the decision is a fixed time. And he says a time has been appointed for the day of decision. Similar things, different way of writing. So let's start with the first word, inna. Now, in the beginning of the class, I already mentioned the word nasikh. Okay, I already mentioned the word nasikh. And the plural of nasikh is nawasikh. Nawasikh. This would be our topic of most of what we're going to be talking about, because this inna is also one of the nawasikh, and this kana is also one of the nawasikh, and the other one, what we already saw, which is dhanna. So these three are the nawasikh. What is the nawasikh? Nawasikh means that this word will always come into jumlatun ismiya, nominative sentence, mubtada and khabar. These words, anything in this word, they need a subject and they need a predicate. Okay, with the dhanna and akhawatuha, we already saw with the verb ja'ala. We've seen that how it comes into a nominative sentence and it makes both subject and object into a mansub. So main thing you have to know that we have these three types of nawasikh. One is inna wa akhawatuha. When we say akhawatuha, that means we are saying it's not only inna, it has other words that takes the same ruling. Then we have kana wa akhawatuha, same thing, and we have dhanna wa akhawatuha. So, of course, we'll be talking about them. So, what does inna means? Inna is a word of emphasis. So, you can say indeed, you can say verily, you can say certainly, surely. Doesn't matter. Any of this word will do. Now, the way inna works is that it will come into a nominative sentence. For example, if I say Allahu, Allah, Allahu ghafur, Allahu ghafurun. That means it's a nominative sentence. How do you know this is a subject? Subject is always definite. Not always. Subject is usually definite. And you have a predicate, indefinite, and you have nominative sentence. Allah is forgiver. Allah is the one who forgives. And as you know, the subject is always marfu, and the mubtada is marfu, and khabar, predicate, is also marfu. If you want to make this one say, verily Allah is ghafur, then you say inna. You bring the word inna. Now you see that why we're calling inna is nawasik, because it is coming into a complete sentence. Inna needs a subject and it also needs a predicate. Why? Because inna will make the subject into a mansub. Inna will make this, the subject, what we have is lafzul jalal, is Allah, into a mansub. So after inna, you cannot say inna Allahu ghafurun. You will say inna Allaha. Now, if you go back to Quran verses, you will see anytime you have inna, you will see inna Allah. It will always be a fatha. But the predicate remains the same way. Predicate remains the same way. Once inna comes, they will not call it mubtada and khabar anymore. They will call this is ism inna and khabar inna. Those are the terms we don't have to spend time on it. Fahimtum? So this is the job of inna. So when we say inna and akhawatuha, any other word that is part of its group, they will have the same impact. Another word would be anna. You have 6 of them. You have inna, anna, ka anna, lakinna, layta, la'alla. Okay, so all of these words, when it comes, it will have the same impact. What about kana? I said the kana is also from nawasikh. Kana will also come in a complete sentence. We had Allahu ghafurun, right? Allahu ghafurun. Now, because we have a complete sentence, whether it makes sense or not, but we can bring the kana, because kana needs subject and predicate. We have a subject and predicate. So let's bring kana. So what's going to happen? The kana, it will bring this nominative sentence into a past tense. So here we said that Allah is ghafurun. If we say kana, then we will say Allah was forgiving. In the context, it might make sense that he was forgiving to someone, but as I said, forget about the meaning from now. But it also has some grammatical impact. When you have kana, what it will do, subhanAllah, it will do pretty much complete opposite of what inna does. Inna makes the subject into a mansub, and it keeps the predicate into marfu, dhamma. Kana will do the opposite. Kana will make the khabar, the predicate, into mansub, and it will leave the mubtada, the subject, as it was. So what will happen? Allahu ghafuran. So we'll have kana Allahu ghafuran. Yes, ahsanti. So this kana, this is the naqis. This is where I made mistake last time. This is the naqis. But naqis is what? It is part of what? Part of the nawasikh. So it is also part of the nawasikh. So the kana and akhawatuha, kana has, I think, as far as I know, 13 of its type. Kana, asbaha, adha, amsa, dhalla, sara. Then you have laysa, mazala. There's many of them. That's about 13 of them. Okay, they will have the same impact. So when they will come into a nominative sentence, and then they will make this type of change. You see, so the inna makes the subject into a mansub, and kana will make the predicate into mansub. Now, interesting thing is dhanna. What does dhanna do? Remember we said dhanna. Let's just use dhanna here. It needs a complete nominative sentence, and it will have some impact as we talked about last time. So this is what we have. Allahu ghafurun. What would happen when dhanna comes? Subhanallah, it will make all of them into a mansub. So if you can remember these three like that, subhanallah, inshallah, I think you will never make any mistake anymore. You have dhanna allaha ghafuran. Here, best would be to use the verb alima, because alima is also one of the nawasikh. You can use alima also as a nawasikh, that I knew that Allah is a ghafur. Okay? Here, but interestingly, in a grammar, we will not call it this is ism anymore. Here, remember what we said. We will say this is ism, the ism of inna, and this is khabar of inna. We will not say mubtada, we will not say khabar. Once we add inna, we'll not say mubtada, we'll not say khabar, we'll say this is ism of inna and khabar of inna. Here we'll say ism of kana, we'll say khabar of kana, but here we'll not say ism of alima. We'll just say this is maf'ul bihi 1, this is maf'ul bihi 2. But they are from the nawasikh. That means they do need a nominative sentence. Yes, last time I think one of the brother mentions something, subhanallah, I was so focused, I get his whole question. So remember, dhanna has two main types, afal al-qulub, and you have afal what? Afal at-tahwil, at-tahwil. And then afal al-qulub, this is I think what the brother was asking. It has a two different types. We have afal al-yaqeen, al-yaqeen, and afal ar-rujhan, rujhan. That the only reason why they divide the dhanna and akhawatuha because based on the meaning. It does not have any grammatical impact. The verb that makes a change, for example, we had a ja'ala. It makes it, remember, Allah makes something into something. They will say tahwil. Tahwil means to change. Anything that has to do with your thinking, thought, like heart perspective, they will say qulub. But from there, some of the word, it is yaqini. For example, alima. Uh, alima. When you say alima, that means you have yaqeen. That's why they call it yaqeen. You have a certainty. So if you say alima Allah ghafuran, that means he knew that Allah is ghafur. And from the rujhan is something that something that you wish, you hope. That's why you have dhanna, it goes into rujhan. That means you think. That's why I removed the dhanna from here, because we don't think Allah is ghafur. We know that Allah is he's ghafur. So when you have a dhanna, it has that type of conjecture. It has doubt. That's the only reason they divide. Doesn't have any implication on the grammar or nothing else. It's just that they're dividing based on the meaning. Okay, so don't worry about that too much. Just make sure you know the dhanna wa akhawatuha, and if you know the main two division, you'll be fine. Fahimtum? So now that you know that three this nawasik, inshallah, as I said, if you understand them side by side, you will see how they're very interesting. Inna makes the subject into mansub, and kana makes the predicate into mansub, and alima will just make everything into mansub. Subhanallah, it's like I don't have time for this. I'll just make everything into mansub. Now let's go back to what we have. Now that you understand, we have to go back and see what do we have here. So we have inna, and we said after inna, we need a complete sentence. First, let's look for that complete sentence. Do we have a complete sentence? We have yawmal fasli. Let's put yawmu here. Yawmul fasli kana miqata. That means the day of the judgment. So the day of judgment or day of decision, what they translated, it is in appointed time. So this is your khabar. This is mubtada, mubtada meaning subject, and this whole thing is khabar. Remember, if you studied, subhanAllah, this is another topic, mubtada always needs to be a noun. Mubtada has to be a noun. But the khabar, the predicate, even in English, predicate can be anything. Predicate can be a noun, predicate can be preposition, predicate can be verb. For example, you say Muhammad is a boy. So boy is a noun, but you can say Muhammad is running. So there's a running. This is a verb. That is a predicate. Right, so same thing here. So we have this kana mikata. This is another. Actually, this isn't from the nawasik. We just talked about it, but this whole thing is khabar. So as you can see, yes, inna is indeed coming into a nominative sentence. And is it doing its job? Yes, inna is making the ism into a mansub. If you don't have inna, you have to say what? Yawmul fasli. This is idafa. This is idafa. So this is mudaf, this is mudaf ilayhi. The reason why we have a kasra here, because of mudaf ilayhi. We talked about that mudaf ilayhi always majrur. Now, we said that inna, the khabar remains marfu. So what we'll say in the Arab, we will say this whole thing, this whole part would be khabar, but because this is a sentence, in the sentence we cannot put a dhamma and kasra. It's a whole sentence. So we will say fi mahal, in the place of raf, in the place of marfu, the raf state. Remember, we said that inna keeps the khabar into marfu. So now that you understand, we have done the inna part, that's good. Now let's come back to kana. We said the kana also needs a complete sentence. Now, do we have a complete sentence here? Meaning this part needs to be a complete sentence here. Hmm? Okay, so let's see. What is the subject of kana here? Hmm? Remember, we said every verb. Kana is a naqis, that means it's incomplete verb, but it is a verb. So what is the subject of the verb? Huwa, ahsan. So we have a huwa. So this is a verb, meaning he. He here, it means what? The day. It means the day. Remember, in Arabic, we don't have it. So we have to use huwa for something that we refer to as it. So that means we have it is a appointed time. So without kana, we have huwa miqatun. Huwa miqatun. It meaning the day is an appointed time. That means the day is in a appointed time. So we do have a complete sentence. Now that kana comes, then remember, when the kana comes, inshallah, this is something else you have to know. If the subject was pronoun, that the kana will take the subject into the verb itself. Okay, so if subject was here, for example, if subject was here, so you will not say kana, you will say kanat. This it will take in the replace of the dhamir munfasil, the subject pronoun. So the subject is already here, huwa. And what did we say? What will it do with the khabar? It will make it into mansub. Did it do it? Absolutely. It made the miqatun into miqatan. So it is doing its role. Okay. So what is miqat? Miqat is appointed time. So as you can see, this is a very interesting verse and it has a very complex structure. And I just wish we had a little bit more time to talk about more on this. I think we did not talk about the word fossil. Fossil has a lot of different meanings. We use fossil to say semester. We use fossil for also chapter. If you open any Arabic book, you will see they will divide into fossil, a section or chapter. Fossil also means a dividing something. This is what you do with the fossil. Actually, this is what you do with the semester also. You're supposed to study 4 years. So with the fossil, you divide. What do? You divide into a semester. That's why they call it fossil. And when you have a book, it should be all in one go. But when you put a fossil, what are you doing? You're dividing the book into a section. So that's where the fossil comes. And the fossil also means decision. What does the decision has to do with dividing? Decision always has to do with dividing. You're dividing the right and the wrong. If you have to decide on something, you're always dividing, you're deciding, you're splitting the right from the wrong. Okay, Yawmul Fasl, that means this is the day that Allah will make the decision. He will separate the rights and the wrongs, the good and the bad, and he will make these things clear. So that's why he is using this word to describe the day of judgment. Makes sense? But as I promised you that we're going to make the classes a little bit shorter, so we will end here.